This fall marks the 250th anniversary of the founding of the U.S. Navy. My colleague George Hale was invited to Norfolk, Virginia to experience being a sailor for a day. He takes us behind the scenes to learn more about what Hoosiers are doing after they enlist.
Naval Station Norfolk is the busiest Navy installation on Earth, sprawling over miles. It's headquarters to the Navy's Fleet Forces Command in the Atlantic Fleet. Dozens of ships dock at the station, which also houses helicopters, submarines, and carriers. Hoosiers are among the tens of thousands of sailors and civilians there.
I wanted to experience and learn things that I only saw on TV.
Lance Fincham grew up near Muncie and joined the Navy out of high school in 2017.
So a gunner's mate basically maintains weapons and weapon systems and then trains people on how to use those weapons, as well as doing anti-terrorism.
Fincham arrived in Norfolk this year after deploying in Europe and the Middle East, where he did training on what the Navy calls littoral combat ships, designed for operations in shallow waters near ports and coasts.
How to combat different scenarios, like a diver coming up, maybe putting an explosive on the ship, or there'd be a riot on the pier that we may have to deal with, or just any possible, attack.
When they aren't at sea, sailors stationed at Norfolk spend a lot of time training. On a Monday afternoon in May, pilots with the helicopter Sea Combat Squadron 2 take off and land again and again, practicing medical rescues. The Seahawk helicopters support deployments in maritime environments, capable of taking off and landing aboard ships out at sea. The pilots train at the Aviation Survival Training Center, which is also on the base. In the center's pool, instructors simulate scenarios to get pilots and passengers ready for the possibility of a crash, teaching them how to evacuate underwater. They also learn how to eject and operate parachutes over land and sea. Keeping track of every sailor's certifications and training is a massive undertaking. Navy personnel specialists work all over the world. Darvell Connell is preparing to retire in October after 2 decades in the Navy.
Right now I'm at 23 years, 9 months, about 6 days. Not counting at all.
Connell is a personnel specialist in what's essentially the Navy's HR department. He says he didn't have many prospects when he met a recruiter in his hometown of Gary.
There wasn't a whole lot of opportunity, and college wasn't for us at that time. And the Navy recruiter was the one we saw the most coming to the school. And we just decided to talk to him, and really shocked my parents when the recruiter just came to the house with paperwork. But it's one of them decisions that you make it and you just go with it, and that's, if you think about it too much, you probably talk yourself out of it.
20 plus years later, his whole career has been in the Navy, mostly on land, although personnel specialists also deploy. Connell served in Iraq.
We're mostly boots on the ground, and we're going in, we got an office space, and we're just, processing people in and out of the country, emergency leaves, medevacs, R&R requests. We really just take care of the sailor, making sure they got everything in place for themselves and their families.
Navy instructors are using advanced simulators to educate future sailors. At a training center for the Maritime Expeditionary Security Group 2, sailors gain experience not only in aiming and firing, but also in making split-second decisions based on perceived threats, all while their ships and targets are moving.
When we're out in the ocean, we're practicing our seaward continuum of force. That is, the levels in which we determine if somebody is a good or a bad guy, right? One of our final steps before we engage with deadly force is called warning shots. That's our line.
On the second floor of the Mariner Skills Training Center, 2018 Purdue University graduate Emily Darledge instructs the next generation of navigators.
What we're seeing initially here is it's our rules of the road situation called an overtaking. Think on the highway, we're coming up from behind someone, we're in the fast lane, we're going faster and we want to get around them.
The Navy established the training center in response to a deadly collision off the coast of Japan in 2017. Using special software and these large displays, Darledge teaches navigators how to recognize and avoid risks to their ships and others all over the world.
Looking at the screen here, this ship isn't moving in relation to us, so that's a concern, because if they're not moving in relation to us, there's a high risk of collision.
Darledge drills future ship drivers each day in 6 or 8 week courses.
We just have them kind of go through each interaction with each of the ships and then they make their decision appropriately based on what they learn out of our curriculum.
With the touch of a few buttons, Darlage transports her classroom into simulated environments they are likely to encounter in the real world.
I can change where these ships are going. I can make them go faster, slower, change their course. I can make them disappear. I can do pretty much anything that I want to scenario-wise on this screen. And then this is just another control screen that shows me what ships are doing. This is where I can change like what it looks like outside. I can change the environmentals. I can change what time of day it is. I can change how many waves there are and how high the waves are. Wind, I can change wind, which affects how we drive.
Darlage is an experienced ship driver, having navigated repeatedly through sensitive and challenging seaways in the Middle East.
Yeah, what about like the Red Sea? That'd be cool.
Yeah, I can do Red Sea.
Now we're in the Bab el-Mandab, a choke point between Yemen and Djibouti.
A bunch of commerce, a lot of traffic. I have done this transit 42 times.
The simulator can also recreate the point of view of the ships that future navigators will control. Out of nowhere, an aircraft carrier appears on the horizon.
This is what it looks like to be on the bridge of a carrier.
Okay, wow.
Flight deck all. We have our superstructures on the right, on the starboard side. And as we look around, looking right or starboard, see ships coming and going.
Fighter jets take off again and again from the deck of the USS George H.W. Bush, underway somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean in early May. Under the flight deck is a bustling city at sea.
A lot of people with just a small amount of time to prepare the food, to make it all work, set it all up. It is a bit straining, but at the end of the day, everyone comes out happy.
Blaine Werner from Lafayette has been on the carrier for more than 3 years.
We do get a lot of good reviews.
Werner was working as a culinary specialist when the ship last deployed in 2022 and 2023 in the Mediterranean, with 7,000 people on board.
I actually started getting more recognized on how I am because I started working on the grill, and I always try to be like the hyper person to like improve everyone's morale. Every now and then I would take my own personal time that I had off and start baking something. Just anything that I wanted to try and bake to improve morale, because especially on a deployment, it's a very challenging time.
Competition is tough, but musician is a job in the Navy. Navy bands recruit from all over the country, including IU's renowned Jacobs School of Music in Bloomington.
I took the Navy audition while I was in my master's degree at IU.
Erica Lovato was studying oboe performance and expected to pursue an orchestral career after graduation, until an IU professor suggested the Navy. Now she plays in the Navy's woodwind quintet and ceremonial band.
And we go out and do performances, play retirement ceremonies and change of command ceremonies. I absolutely love my job playing in the band.
For Indiana News Desk, I'm George Hale.